What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can also text us at 865-658-5824. We're flying solo as of the moment. I believe all the guys are prepping for Valentine's Day, which is a really smart move. I'm sure that's what Tim's doing. I know that's what Emilio's doing. He may join us here shortly. Jacob's trying to decide who he's prepping Valentine's Day for. He's got to go down the list and figure out which one that he's going to target this Valentine's Day. So with that being said, let's give a shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Greg Rice in the house. We got Jake Shavink, too old for this. Daryl in the house. Chris in. Everybody following in. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. Holmes, MD1. We got Dane Stromstad, United Bates. Too old for this. Love it. Appreciate you guys. Just hit that like on your way in if you don't mind, guys. And feel free, if this is the first time you've watched this show, hit sub on your way in as well. And if you you don't like the content, just keep notifications off. No big deal. But we appreciate you supporting us. Let's go to the chat right off the bat. Greg Rice says, hey, Clayton, if you get a chance, I would like for you to explain one back, one gap. Does that mean one running back, one gap, or something else? That's exactly what it means, Greg. It's a term that doesn't get used often. And excuse me for the sniffling and everything. You guys know how it is, man. The weather changes every other day. So I'll try not to sound disgusting on the podcast here. But one back, one gap. You heard Matt LaFleur talk about it last year. And essentially what it means is if you've got two running backs in the backfield, many defenses will switch to a two-gap scheme, no matter if they're running a 34 jam front or if they're in a 4-3 base, okay? Or if you're in a 4-3 under, sometimes you'll go to a two gap. If you're in a 4-3 over, you'll go to a two gap sometimes. It depends on the defensive coordinator and how aggressive they want to be towards the running game and really getting after the passer. But like last year, I think it was when we played the Steelers, Matt LaFleur mentioned it, he talked about how the media exposes themselves when they're talking about, is it this two gap system? He's like, when it's one back, it's actually one gap. So he it was no like big shocker to us because we're constantly watching the tape. Many people just heard 3-4 defense and they immediately think two gap system. And like we had pointed out all year long last year, when you're in the nickel 4-2-5, the majority of the time, at the time it was a nickel 2-4-5, you weren't two gapping much. And the reason being is if you've got two backs in the backfield, whether it's a split backfield or an I formation, you've got to account for another body in the backfield, so you're losing a hat, essentially, right? So you want those defensive linemen to play a little more conservative and control two gaps to allow your defense to get into the position of what we call center mass, right? The impact zone of the run. And there's some teams that even though it's a one back, they'll go two gap, right? But that's what we mean by one back equals one gap, two backs equal two gaps. Because if you're in a split backfield, you may give it to, like when you're in a split backfield, I think it's 2 and 4 is the number. Let me see. I got my notes here. Emilio's really good at this stuff, him having a football background. I may have already taken it off of my cheat sheet here. I believe I did, actually. Here we go. So when you're in a split backfield, right, you'll go 2 is your halfback. And if it's a split back, 4 is your right halfback, your right running back, essentially, right? So if you give it to the left running back in a split backfield from the offense's perspective, that guy's numbered as 2. The guy on the right's numbered as 4. And what that means, essentially, and the reason you'll go to a two-gap system is you don't know who's going to get that ball. You got to be prepared to try to, at a bare minimum, maintain the hat count in your scheme of getting to that running back and taking on the blockers and gap assignments, okay? If there's one gap or one back, you can be more aggressive. Okay, if he goes right, if it's an A gap right run or a B gap right run, everyone knows their gap that they're responsible for. But if you got two backs in the backfield, you got to be prepared to kick out for that stretch either side or even a B gap kind of zone run. So it's a little deeper than that. We won't spend the whole show trying to break it down. That's what they meant by that, though. And I think it was all Greg was asking is when you say one back, one gap, do you mean one running back, one gap? Absolutely. That's what we're talking about. So it depends on the defensive coordinator and how you want to attack it. It depends on the scheme, too. Like the offensive scheme, if they're strictly a gap run team and they don't run a lot of zone, you may attack it differently as well. But that's what we mean by that. And again, it's the reason that Matt LaFleur got on the media last year about that, as well as the only having 2 defensive linemen, right, is because the outside linebackers were edge defenders. Essentially, they're defensive ends. They're just standing up. And, we talked about on the show many times. I'm trying to think of the guy. It was Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator. I remember the press conference where he said this in Dallas, where he was sitting there at the table with Jerry, like Jerry always got to be on the pressers and everything. And they asked him, DeMarcus Ware, are you thinking about putting his hand in the dirt as opposed to standing up? And he said, you want me to show you the difference between that? And he literally stood up from the table and he went, this and this, and he put his hand down. He said, that's it. It's the same responsibilities. Some people like to play standing up. Others like to play with their hand in the dirt. But what Matt pointed out last year, he's like, and he got frustrated with the media, and he kind of scoffed at him, was like, you guys are really exposing yourself. And I understand why Matt took that stance. I understand why coaches get frustrated with the media, because some of them, not all, not many really, a minute amount, like to write articles as if, man, these guys are idiots for only having 2 down linemen. Like, they're getting ran all over. And the coaches are like, you know what, let me just go ahead and expose them real quick. Buddy, hate to break it to you, but we've actually got 4 defensive linemen. 2 of them are just standing up, and they're technically linebackers. So that kind of comes into play there with that whole conversation as well. Greg Rice says, also, I watched the top 7 defensive line today. Graham is a monster, but I would take them all. This is such a heavy defensive line draft, man. It's wild. Like Dane Brugler, if I were to sort his draft board here on the surface, let's see how many he's got in the top 50. He's got Mason Graham at 4, Derek Harmon 19, Kenneth Grant 26, Walter Nolan 29, Tyleik Williams 33, Alfred Collins 47. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interior defensive linemen in the top 50 on his big board. In the top 100, you've got 56 Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M, 60 TJ Sanders, 67 Darius Alexander, 73 Jordan Phillips, 76 Deion Walker. I'm gonna change his name to Deion Green, since that's Tim's guy right there. That's his adopted son. 78 Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. He's an interesting one. We showed you guys the chart earlier, the graphic earlier, where he was way up and to the right on pass rush win rate as well as run stop rate. Joshua Farmer's another interesting prospect as well. He's in the 88 spot. So this is a draft that's just loaded at defensive line. It really is. Now, when you talk about Graham, and I'm trying to think, I believe it was Daryl here in the chat says Graham might be a 5 to 10 pick. I don't see him falling down the board because of his production. Got to go with the second or third best option. Could not agree more. I don't see any scenario, and you don't say this often when it comes to pro football, but I don't see any scenario where Mason Graham falls to 23. There's just, I would just about bet the farm there's zero chance that happens. And it's rare that you say that about prospects, but that's why we've been mentioning him. Like, man, according to our board, and it could be wrong, he's up there with the same grade of the top of like Aiden Hutchinson, guys like that, Myles Garrett, people like that. He's kind of fallen in that range right now for us. Now, it could change. I don't know what could change it. There could be some catastrophic things that happen, but Mason Graham's a stud. I just don't see him being there. And in contrast to what Dane Brugler has here, he's got Mason Graham at 4. So does the PFF big board. He's got Derek Harmon at 19. PFF big board has Walter Nolan at 19. And then he's got Kenneth Grant at 26. PFF big board has Kenneth Grant at 23. All right. And then the next one is Tyleik Williams at 33. PFF big board has Tyleik Williams at 28. And Alfred Collins at 47 for Dane Brugler. And the PFF big board has Alfred Collins at 68. So when you get outside of those like top 4 or 5 defensive linemen, that's when people start to kind of part ways in their opinion of them, So it's going to be interesting to see how these defensive tackles play, go in the draft and obviously extend their careers into the NFL. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. 2-0 for this says, evening everyone, longest week ever, but it'll be good to hang out with y'all even if this show sucks. Hey, amen to that. Appreciate you 2-0 for this. Thanks for swinging through, buddy. I hear you, man. We were at the hospital all day long, only to have an appointment canceled, so we got to go back in the morning. There won't be a morning show. I apologize, guys, but we'll definitely do an evening show tomorrow night. We got Emilio joining us now. Emilio, we've been prepping for Valentine's Day, bro. Are we good to go?
We have. Yeah, I'm going to have to get up a little early and just finish it up just because I won't see it tomorrow night. So, get a little surprise in there. Chocolates, flowers, the classic.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I can't say too much. Mandy's probably watching the show right now. So
yeah, I can. She's working. I maybe out there get a little scavenger hunt going. A little rhyme, something like that. Just keep them entertained. You gotta just some old jokes between you two. That sort of stuff. That's what you need.
The scavenger hunt ends in the kitchen with a frying pan and something for her to cook. But don't go that route.
Don't go that route. I know Jacob's already tried that one, and that's one off the list. But yeah, better get ready.
Like I said earlier, man, you were prepping for Valentine's Day. It's probably what Tim's doing. Jacob's trying to decide which one to prep for Valentine's Day.
I got you right here.
Going down the list.
Right there on the old tag there. That's for you, Clay.
Who's on Rusty's list? I love it. My man. And will they survive through the night? That's the
truth. You never know.
All right, Jake Shavink in the house said, excited to see who these corners are in Clayton's polls. I only found one of 4 that match the numbers. Ooh. We're going to get to that. So let's jump into Twitter real quick and start there.
Whoa.
And let's see, we get that adjusted for you. There you go, sir. Can't be having your mug covered up there. Let's go straight to Twitter. There's a couple things I wanted to hit on here, and then we'll get into what Jake mentioned there for sure. So obvious, the big talk around Travis Hunter has been, is he going to be a receiver or a corner? I don't think anybody's surprised here, Emilio, but my buddy Andy on Twitter, great follow, by the way, does just an excellent job with NFL draft coverage. Colorado two-way superstar Travis Hunter is attending the NFL Combine as a cornerback. So He has made that, let everybody know, informed everyone, I'm going to be there as a corner, so we can kind of probably move on from that. It doesn't mean he's not going to play receiver in the NFL. I highly doubt he's going to play much receiver, if any at all. But man, oh man, Emilio, that was my childhood, was watching Charles Woodson at Michigan play both ways.
Right.
And then, of course, Cordell Stewart was my favorite player growing up. My brother was a Steelers fan. So in the 90s, I was a Steelers fan, just kind of, didn't know anything about NFL. But Cordell Stewart lining up at receiver, coming in at quarterback, playing halfback. He punted. It was just really fun watching those type of players. Deion Sanders was exciting when he would play on both sides of the ball. It seems like the game's changed here, man. But if anybody's proven they could probably do it in today's football game, it's Travis Hunter, man.
Right, it's crazy because, that's what you're doing growing up from Pee Wee up, right? You're running two ways. I was defense, long snapper. Anywhere you can get on, you want to play. So you're two ways all the way through high school. If you're that good, you're that good of an athlete. You get into college, you got to pick a side. You're not going to have enough time to, one, learn the playbook, two, get into. Think about it. You have 2-hour practice. You got, offense, defense drills, break those up. Then you got to go into your sub drills for your, DBs, linebackers, all that. Then you're over there working on corner. You haven't been in the offense for 2 days because you've been playing corner. You've been practicing corner for whoever you're going up against that week. So I think that it is, it's super impressive. No wonder he got the Heisman. I was going to ask you on the GM Shuffle. I haven't listened to it in a couple of days, but previously they were asking, how much would you play how much would you play Travis? Or I think it was also Move the Sticks. Are you going to play him strict, bring him in as a wide receiver, as a corner? And how many snaps would you let him have on the opposite side of the field per game, if I were to get a number from you?
Man, me personally, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Now, it depends on the roster, right? Whoever drafts him. And Dane Brugler has him number 1. PFF has him number 1. We have him number 1. Daniel Jeremiah has him number 1.
Yep.
He's the best prospect in the draft, according to anyone that, everyone that I respect that covers the draft. Me personally, I think there would be more value for him at the cornerback position.
I agree.
As a returner. And I don't know a whole lot about Travis Hunter's return ability, but I know this. If you spend a number 1 draft choice on a player and you put him out there at corner, and then let's say you do run a few snaps a game. Let's say you do 10 snaps on offense a game, and he gets hurt on offense, I would not be able to live with myself, man. You know what I mean? I feel like you're more likely to get hurt playing receiver than you are playing corner. And I don't have any data to break that up. To back that up. Mm-hmm. I'm just simply saying,
off the gut.
One side, you're engaging the contact, you're watching the play develop. On the other side, your head is turned away from a safety that's going to take it off, or a backer across the middle. Mm-hmm. That's just me personally. And again, if you if it's Madden, Emilio, and you can turn the injuries off, I want to see him play every snap. I think that's exciting. That's awesome. I hope he plays both sides. I'm just saying, if I was the GM, if I was the head coach, and I invested a number 1 overall pick into a guy who's going to play corner and or wide receiver, I'm probably going to try to press him into corner because I felt like that's where his most value was.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not want him to get hurt,
So I agree on pressing him into corner. I think that is his, strong suit for sure. I think they had a number at about 20 offensive snaps. They'd let him get into 20. So you think about, say there's 60 aside in a normal game, 120. He's been running that no problem in college, right? So that's if he's playing every snap, both sides. I think that he could definitely handle 20. I'm probably with you in between 10 and 20-ish. And it's kind of just to keep him honest too. It's not like you need to throw the guy every single time he's out there, but if we got him running a route, you got the defense. You think about it. Remember when we brought Keyshawn in, even though it was just a quick reverse, you don't even know he's in there. But I think that he could tear it up at wide receiver. I think whoever is going to draft him is probably going to give him. I think he's going to play both ways for at least a year or two, just to see. I don't think they're not gonna. I think he's going to be in their hip like, hey, you brought me in here. We were the first overall pick for a reason. Like, let me do something to help this team. And I think that's kind of what you want on, your drive for a player.
Right. And you don't want to harness a player. I understand that completely. And Deion, Coach Prime, talked over and over and over about it's everything in me to make sure this kid stays healthy and doesn't get overworked, but he wants to be on the field every damn snap.
Right.
That's who he is. And to me, that makes him an even better prospect, just wanting to be. You could tell he loves the game of football.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I understand, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's like Deion, Coach Prime practically helped raise him. Like he's coached him from a young child, right? If I understand.
My understanding, yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, I was taught to hate Deion Sanders as a player. My brother was a Steelers fan. I remember my brother telling me specifically as a young kid, Rod Woodson is how you play the game. He's a corner that's physical. He's willing to tackle. Deion, he ain't willing to tackle. He's a pansy. He's all about the money, the flash. Rod Woodson's just blue collar. So I was always swayed in my opinion away from Deion. But him as a coach, man, he's just – you can tell he cares about the kids. He cares about doing things the right way, not just winning ball games and what he's done with that program too.
Right.
It's just wild, so. Yeah. Shavink says he's wide receiver 1 if he went wide receiver only, in my opinion.
Sure.
I completely agree, Jake. He's got to be, right?
He'd probably be running back 1. He'd probably be safety 1. He'd probably, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. As Greg Rice said here, too, that's the best way to put it. It was fun hating Prime. It really was, man. And especially when he was high stepping down the sideline, holding that ball up like a loaf of bread,
mm-hmm.
It was frustrating as an opposing fan, I guess you could say. So, all right, let's move along here. Just want to mention that because that will kind of steer the draft there a little bit, I believe. I think that was important information. A little bit of Aaron Rodgers news here, just because, again, this may play a role in where Davante Adams lands, and that's why we're kind of keeping our eye on it. So Aaron Rodgers' watch has officially begun. As they mentioned earlier today, Around the NFL on X said, Jets owner Woody Johnson on moving on from Aaron Rodgers, quote, I will forever be grateful that he chose to join us to continue his Hall of Fame career. Ian Rappaport, a quote, tweeted that, say clarity on what's next for Aaron Rodgers per NFL rules. Quote, if a club announces that they are terminating a vested veteran, other clubs are able to talk to him. No tryout or signing is permitted. Rodgers won't be officially released until the league year, but talks can happen. And there's rumors that, and I'm pretty sure that's how it happened, it'll be a post-June 1 cut. But they're going to officially release him with a post-June 1 cut so he can talk to teams as early as right now, it sounds
right.
like. So he's been given permission to seek, a new team. So that's probably going to increase the chances of him playing this year as opposed to if he wasn't allowed to talk to teams, But I just wanted to mention that because wherever he lands, I think there's a decent shot that Davante Adams could follow him there, right? At least a chance anyway. Now, he could retire too, but anything you want to add to that conversation there? Because that's going to be one of the big names, obviously, this offseason.
Oh, definitely. And I think that just kind of keeps open the chance of, the Rams, the Steelers, anything, honestly. And like you said, giving him that option now, veteran, knows what he's doing, has, been in and out of training camps. So I think he's good either way. But good for him. If I'd rather, it end on a good year. He goes out with a winning record or something like that, just to, button it all up. But I just can't wait for him to come back and hang the jersey, really.
Yeah, me too, man. It'll kind of turn that page. Here's the other thing I want to say, and I know I'm going to catch hell for this, and I don't care. I try to give my honest opinion on here. I don't try to create controversial statements. I don't try to agree with people just to prevent disagreement. I think disagreement's great. That's when I've learned the most in my life, is when I find someone who disagrees with my stance and makes me actually question it, right? Some of the best preachers I've ever had, people that I lean on in faith, are people that say, test your faith. Don't just go up. Yeah, this is the way it is. No, question it. Try to pick it apart, because you're going to find out. You're going to be even more galvanized because you can't pick it apart. Things like that. If you go in with a mindset like that, I just feel like you're more open-minded. You can learn a lot more. But yeah, it's I'm trying to think of where I was going there. I got preachy. What was it we were just talking about? Not Aaron. Gosh, what was it? There was something tied to Aaron. It left me. Daggum it.
Well, while it left you, let me ask you this question. Too old for this. Says, I think Tate comes back to Green Bay before following Rodgers again.
It could happen. That's the thing too. Like, it wasn't like it went good with the Jets, right? Maybe Tate does have that bad taste in his mouth. Like, that didn't work out.
Right.
Let's try something else. It just feels to me like he's probably going to end up on the West Coast. I'd love to have him in Green Bay for the right price, no doubt about it. But yeah. Anyway, let's move it along. If that comes to me, I'll let you guys know. I had a point there. I'm trying to think of what it was, but man, it's been a long day. I fell asleep in a chair in the hospital about 3 times today. Woke up long enough to go over to the cafe and get a brownie, and then ate that and had another sugar crash. And so, anyway, here was the question Jake Shavink was talking about. All right, and we got a lot of votes here. It looks like I haven't refreshed it, so there's probably a lot more than that now. But I said, which cornerback would you prefer to have on the Green Bay Packers roster in 2025? And I think this is going to surprise a lot of people. Player 1, he had a 69.0 passer rating allowed. Okay, so when he was targeted, the quarterback's passer rating was a 69. All right, 8.7 yards per target, and these are all per NFL Pro. Okay, and a cap hit of right around $1 million. And I tried to bend the cap just a little bit so people couldn't blatantly see who I was talking about. So understand the cap hits are in the ballpark, and really it's more about who would you rather have in general as opposed to a specific player. But we're going to mention the specific players. Player 2, Emilio, 77.6 passer rating allowed, 8.1 yards per target, and his cap hit $25 million. All right. So player 1 had a better passer rating when targeted. He had a slightly worse yards per target. They both had 2 interceptions, but the one up top is $24 million cheaper than the second player. Now, obviously, the public is all over player 1. They're saying for that price, that whatever it is, 6/10 of a yard, whatever you want to call it, right, is not worth that extra money, right? Do you know who these players are, Emilio?
I will guess player 1 is our boy C. Val from Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
And player 2, I would assume, would be Ja.
That's correct. See, I've been mixing and matching potential free agents and Green Bay Packers.
I like that.
Guys, Valentine had a better year last year than Jair Alexander did. And Jair Alexander played far fewer snaps.
Right.
And I know some people, well, I don't know, maybe he didn't. Let me double check that, because Carrington didn't play a whole lot early. I could be wrong there. 516 snaps for Valentine. Yeah, he played more snaps. He played almost 200 more snaps
than Jair. Gotcha.
So it's not like, Jair playing less should help these numbers. The more snaps you play, it should be a little more passer rating allowed. It should be a little more yards per target, right? Because, it's a larger sample size typically. So Carrington, Valentine, both of them having 2 interceptions. And if anyone says, well, player 2 was hurt, you didn't get a full sample, is that a good thing for player 2 that he was hurt? I don't think it was, So obviously I'd pick player 1 as well. That is Carrington, Valentine versus Jair Alexander.
And both of them, 2 picks, right? You said they both had 2 picks, even though Ja had 200 less snaps. I mean, we were there for that one.
That's a stat.
We were there for that one, right? But I mean, and that's where we talked about last night. If it wasn't for, if the restructure hurt us, I would say let the dude run out and just play. But let's restructure him. Let's get a little bit cash back. Let's give him some guaranteed. He's been through the injury bug. Let's make him feel a little better. Like, Ja, we still want you in Green Bay playing for this team. But we need a little bit of help back this way. And then go out there with Valentine and Keyshawn and everybody else. We're going to pick up a new 3-tech and we're off. Let Travis Glover tear it up at tackle and we're cooking.
Right. And the other thing, too, is Jair has played good for a long time, right? Like pretty much his whole career. Yeah. He's been somewhere between, I don't know if he ever scored elite, but he's been somewhere between great and good or very good. Carrington Valentine, on the other hand, bad year last year, this year looking better, right? And obviously outperforming Jair in one of his less productive years. So you got to take that into account too. If you were to lay out the entire scenario, I like to just key in on the most recent body of work, just like we did with Rashawn Gary and Max Crosby. If you look at Max Crosby's entire career compared to Rashawn Gary's, you're taking Max Crosby. But if you look at just last year, you got to really step back and go, damn, Rashawn Gary played better than Max Crosby last year. So that's why I'm okay with getting Max Crosby opposite of Rashawn Gary for the right price, of course.
Right.
I'd much rather that money and draft picks go into multiple swings at 3-tech, but that's just me. So, again, if anything, what this does for me, Emilio, and we'll get your final take on it, we'll move on, it gives me hope that, you know what, if Ja does leave and if the board doesn't fall just right for us to go get a solid starting corner, I like where Carrington Valentine's going. I thought he showed promise down the stretch. I really did. Mm-hmm. He was one of the best corners in the NFL down the stretch. He really was.
Right.
I was critical as hell of Carrington Valentine his rookie year.
Right.
You got to remember, I was like, hey, guys, I'm a Kentucky fan, but this kid probably ain't it. Boy, did he shut me up last year.
Coming out of a 7th-round pick, I think that's huge. I think that we have the potential for that for Kalen King, next time or this coming year, right? If he steps up, he's seen what Val's done, what he can do, what he can become. I think that's a possibility. But you're right. If Ja does leave, we still have options. We still have Keyshawn. We still have Carrington. I mean, Carrington's got us through two years, right? Like when we had our old defensive coordinator when we were in trouble, Carrington got us through. And now our new defensive coordinator, he got us through there as well. So the dude's ready to play. He's always willing. I think that it's a great deal. He's trying to make money too. He wants to be player 2 at one point, not numbers wise, but he wants that cap hit. So I do think that that's something that will always drive him and kind of keep him playing at a high level.
Right. Now I want to say this. You mentioned Keyshawn Nixon, and I'm with you, man. I thought Keyshawn played good. I didn't think he was great, but I thought at times he was good, and obviously he played better on the boundary. But I'm going to give you his comparison to these two, and I think it's going to shock you a little bit. It shell-shocked me a little bit, man. It really did. Let's see here. So that would have been 92 targets. Make sure I'm doing this right. If you want to hit something in the chat, feel free to. If not, I'll try to get these numbers together really quick.
Yeah, let's see.
It's kind of off the rails in there.
yeah, it really has. I'm trying to walk through it carefully. Daryl said Valentine outperformed Stokes on every snap. That's why his PFF grades are above average. That's true. I mean, and it's not like we haven't tried with Stokes. I mean, we gave him his full 4 years. What I like is, let's give everybody else a chance like we gave Stokes. Obviously, he came back from the injury. I'm happy that he's returned and able to play in the NFL after suffering that kind of – I mean, it was ugly. So nothing against him. But it's just the point of like, hey, everyone wants LVN gone at this point because he's not turning up. I mean, we've given Stokes a chance. I feel like that we got to be consistent kind of throughout with that.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't include Keyshawn Nixon is because I knew the numbers were much closer between Carrington and Jair, and I wanted to see if people would sway towards Carrington, and obviously they did, probably mainly because of the money. If the money was flipped, people would probably have chose player 2, right? But with Keyshawn Nixon, his yards per target was 6.1. So that was significantly better, right? But his passer rating when targeted, and keep in mind, I'm sure touchdowns really sway this because it seemed like he did give up a few touchdowns. I don't know if it's got that statistic or not.
I feel like I remember most of those chalk talks were a fade route or an out route or a flare, something like that, and it was key on the backside.
Yeah, Keyshawn's passer rating when targeted 101.2, right? But he gave up 6 touchdowns. Is why. That's bad.
And his cap hit was
that's a great question. Let's see here. I got it right here. Keyshawn Nixon's cap hit last year. Actually, this is for 2025. Is $6.8 million. Last year, I want to say it was somewhere around 4.
Okay.
Keyshawn Nixon, I got it right here. I believe.
Oh, man, he really is kind of right in the middle. You're sitting there thinking, all right, Valentine's at 69 passer rating with 8.7 yards at $1 million. Keyshawn is 100 and change passer rating. That would be the highest out of all 3 at 6.9 yards and $4 million cap hit. Then you got Ja at 76.6 passer rating, 8.1 yards, 25 million. You're right. I think that number would have been a lot. That vote would be a lot more tight because you're saying, hey, do I want to give up less than a first down a first down per catch, or but if I'm giving up 6 yards, that's cool. But you're getting cooked on the like not Keyshawn's, but like you're getting beat on the backside. That's why your passer rating's that high. Quarterbacks are scoring on you. We can't have that either.
Exactly. And, in a perfect world, you would have Keyshawn Nixon 6.1 yards per target.
Yep. And
then a combination of that passer rating allowed, right? It's obvious that opposing offenses really targeted Keyshawn Nixon in the red zone, though. It became really, really odd, especially a little cheap motion, like you said, back shoulder fade, little slot fade, whatever it is.
And they saw that one that got me was the one where they literally ran the play and there was a timeout or the 2-minute warning, and they knew the play was coming right back to him, and he's still just like, dude, get in front of that, it's coming.
He's out of room. He's out of room. He's at the out of bounds line. They're either throwing him the ball or they're not. Prepare in case they are. Like, I never understand that. And I know it looks silly sometimes when guys are just running with their arms up, but bro, whatever it takes, You're taught that, actually. So anyway, so there you go. Just interesting to kind of look at the cornerback room right now. If Ja returns, I would want to see, me personally, Jair on one side and Carrington Valentine on the other until they prove otherwise, right? And, boy, you talking about lighting a fire under Keyshawn Nixon's ass is if Carrington, Valentine, and Hilmer in a camp battle for that outside corner spot, man, you're going to get the best version of Keyshawn Nixon. There's no two ways about it. And if he wins that spot, simultaneously you could have Keyshawn Nixon battling Javon Bullard for the slot, right, and see who's better there. And, again, I personally think Keyshawn Nixon was better as a boundary corner as opposed to a nickel corner, a slot corner.
And if Keyshawn does win that and Ja does stay, then we don't need to chase down corner. We have a backup corner in Carrington Valentine coming out in a dime package, or even nickel if we want to go light nickel and bring out the extra corner and say, Bullard, come off for a minute. And I think that would open us up a lot. That's my only, when we're thinking draft, why would you want to go away from a known commodity? If you could figure out the money issue, why would you want to go away from known commodity? Just let's hope and pray he goes, knock on wood, he's healthy moving forward, not going to hold it against him, figure out the money and go for it. Why would you not do that, saying I have 3 corners that I know what I have? We need to pay attention to, the trenches, whatever in the draft and move forward. That's where I'm like, I just don't know. I know we need to fill the backside, but I would just.
Yeah, Greg Rice says, and this is a great point here too, man. Nixon's starting camp at CB3. He will not be happy. He would not. You know what I say? Tough luck. Go win the damn job. And I'm done with this whole Josh Myers as the starting center. No one competes. I'm done with that. Like, if you're going to have the youngest team in the league, you better let these guys compete. because this whole, well, he's the veteran, he's starting. Get away from me with that crap, man. And if you look at it contract-wise, if Keyshawn did throw a fit, right, let's just see where we're at there. I'm pretty sure we would still be upside down at this point. Actually not. If Keyshawn for some reason threw a fit and caused a stink and you'd have to cut him or trade him, his cap hit is $6.8 million. His dead cap is $4.3 million. So you can free up roughly $2.5 million if you just cut him outright this year. So it's not like, oh crap, we're going to lose money and lose. And I'm not saying Keyshawn would be that guy, right? But I don't want this to be Keyshawn Nixon slander. If anything, and you disagree, tell me if you disagree. I defended Keyshawn probably more than most people did last year. I thought he played well. I thought he did, on the boundary when they kicked him out. There were still people kind of roasting him because he sucked in the slot. I thought he played really good on the boundary.
Mm-hmm. They asked him to do a lot. I mean, he was kind of the glue there that stayed in every time he bounced in for, in and out when we asked him to play the slot and outside. So it's very convenient having somebody that is a multi-tool on offense or defense.
Right. That Milwaukee multi-tool. Daryl in the chat says, no wonder Goody declined Stokes' fifth-year option because Valentine had the potential to be better. Yeah, it kind of feels like that, right? It feels like that on the surface, for sure. Let's see here. Jake Shavink says, makes you think Green Bay might just look for cornerback in the mid-rounds only, maybe nickel day 3 as well.
Because that's what we already have Khalil King. Let Khalil King come up and play. Let's just replace the practice squad guy and move forward with it. If the practice squad guy is elite, all right, now you get a shot. If he's a Valentine coming out of Kentucky in the 7th round, no problem. But that's where I'm at, just not trying to pull the trigger on one early.
Right. Jake Shavink says, yeah, with what he's saying there with the nickel, that's why Tim, every mock draft we do, what does he say? Give me the safeties. Let's see what safeties had slot experience. Because it's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? You would want your cornerback room to have at least 2 nickel corners, maybe a third. That's kind of that versatile guy. So like he's saying, day 3, and that's exactly where we've looked for him, Jake, is Tim's always, it seems like when we get into the back half of the draft, he's like, hey, put safeties on there. Not that we need a safety, but because there's a lot of safeties with, and there's many of them in this draft that's got, slot snaps. And you also got to look at, some of them will have like 80 slot snaps. You go, he's not really a nickel, not really a slot corner. But then you look at the box snaps as well. That kind of bleeds into that same top approach there. Especially
you've got to be willing to come into the box. You have to be. If you're going to be playing nickel, you have to be willing to come into the box.
Right. And if you're playing primarily zone like we did last year, and I'm sure we will do that again this year, we may play more man this year than we did last year, but we'll always play more zone than man. That the only knock of, this is a safety that played 80 snaps in the slot and 200 in the box, so therefore he can be a nickel. If he's in man coverage, he's probably going to struggle. Right. And see, there you go. This is what I'm talking about. Jake said, makes you wonder if they dare to take Malachi Starks at 23 if he was there. See, this crossed my mind before, Jake. And on our board, Malachi Starks, let me go sort it by overall. If Malachi Starks is sitting there when we pick at 23, guess where Malachi Starks is on our board, Emilio? 21.
Oh.
He's at 21. So if we go to PFF and just look real quick at Malachi Starks, listen to his snaps. All right, you ready for this? 400 deep, playing post safety, right? Mm-hmm. When I say deep, it can be post, it can be too high shell, but he's playing deep. 215 in the box. All right, well, that ain't slot, Clayton. No, he played 271 snaps in the slot. Bro, if you get Malachi Starks with the 22nd pick, you just drafted a cornerback. Think about that. And you got someone who can play a little safety too. A run defense grade at 85.6. Missed tackle rate is only 8.1. The problem with it is coverage grade 72.1. And you're going, that ain't bad. You're right, it ain't. But it's right underneath the 3/4 mark. So it's not like great over the top, right? But, man, that would be very interesting. Jake, I don't know if you're on board with that or not. I would be, personally, because the board suggests he's worth it,
And what would that do? Being the youngest team, that would bring crazy competition to that slot. And to post safety. I mean, if the dude's elite to play post safety, all right, Evan Williams, you're coming. I'm like, you're not going to be starting up there. You're coming down. Maybe Javon wants to play post. That would be crazy. Then you get, there's so many options if you go that route, right? I mean, you really are kind of endless at that point.
And I did not have this on the sheet, on the production sheet for tonight, but I love this conversation. Malachi Starks, according to Dane Brugler, even higher at 14. So even better value there, right? And this right here, Holmes MD1. We have 2 slot corners, Bullard or Nixon. I think cornerback plays there as well. Here's the thing. This is Bill Parcells 101. If you have 2 of them, you don't have one. Just like he used to say, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you ain't got a quarterback, because you're undecided on which one's better. You're not sold that that's your slot corner. I don't think that Bullard is a slam dunk. He's a good slot corner. Listen, Emilio, you've been the president of his fan club. You've been the one to go, hey, guys, he was asked to do a lot, bouncing back and forth. And you put me in check several times, and I'm glad you did it. Tim always put me in check with Quay. You put me in check with Bull, right? But you would not say that he's a top slot corner in the league,
no,
correct?
I would not. That is correct.
And if you're in nickel, however much percentage of the time it is, let's say it's on average between 70 and 80% of the snaps every game, he's a starter. So you better have starting quality. If you can improve that position, then I'll go do it, So, yeah. Jake Shavink says, I'm on board. No guarantees with the draft picks in 24. I love Bullard, but you never know. So he's probably a little closer to you there, Emilio, liking Bullard a little more than I probably do. So
Right. And then just real quick, Prince had this here, the futures cornerbacks, 4 of them, Kamal Hadden, Kalen King, Caleb Haynes, Isaiah Dunn. I do like Kamal Hadden out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then Kalen King out of Penn State, who was the number 1 corner and then dropped to the 7th round. So that's depth that, I think that's the kind of stuff we just lose track of in the heat of the moment. You don't see him on the roster. You don't see him on the 53. You see him dressed up for game day. And by the time the scouting, by the time draft comes back around, all right, we need more corners. We need more this, and that. We have 4 of them in the hopper. We got Tyrone Hopper waiting in the hopper for linebacker. And it's like we have – right. We have a bunch of in line. It's just, are they ready? Have they learned enough in the offseason? I'd rather take somebody that's already gone through the rookie process, been in Green Bay for a year, seen what it's like, been through the NFL process, ready to go year 2, than having to always rely on a fresh out of rookie draft kind of guy is all.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all. All right, welcome into hour 2. Let's shift gears to linebacker, Emilio. I did the same project here with linebacker. And then, again, it could be 2 linebackers on the Packers roster. It could be a free agent linebacker. We're strictly comparing who would you rather have here, okay, to play linebacker. You have to choose one of these 2 players. Here are the numbers. And to me, it wasn't even close. I don't know who the knuckleheads are that chose player 1. I think they were just trying to be different. Hey, more power to you. Which linebacker would you prefer to have on the Green Bay Packers roster in 2025? Player 1 allowed a 100.9 passer rating allowed and had a 15% run stop rate. His cap hit $4 million. All right. Player 2, a 57.1 passer rating allowed. I'm going to say it again, 57.1 passer rating allowed and a 26% run stop rate. Guys, that's more than a quarter of the run defense snaps. He is stopping the run from getting to 4 yards. And his cap hit was only $2 million. Which player would you like to get there, Amelia?
I would take player 2. Please.
Exactly.
Thank you. Who they are is a different question. I'm thinking 2 is probably Coop. Doesn't look like by your face I'm right on that one.
It is. It's
okay. Player 1, it's a toss-up between – I was thinking Isaiah McDuffie for some reason, but I don't think that's correct. I think it could be Quay, but I don't think that his cap hits at $4 million. The only other one would be your boy Wagner if you're trying to make a point, but him losing this battle doesn't help your point. So I'm going to go with Quay.
It was Quay. Quay's cap hit is $4.4 million, and that's why I was saying I was trying to keep it a little vague to not give it away. So this is what we're talking about, the conversation between Quay and Edgerrin Cooper. Guys, it's not even close. And I'm glad Tim was off tonight. Like it's so we didn't, I
I'll
don't want
defend,
to
I'll defend Quay for Tim. I'll defend Quay once we're done here.
And I guarantee you, if you ask Tim, you got to choose between Quay or Edgerrin Cooper to keep on your roster. He's going
right.
Don't take that the wrong way. But the point here is what Edgerrin Cooper did. This is not new.
It was different. It was different for sure.
This is wild. The Quay, the passer rating when targeted. Here's the thing. Quay is really good at covering vertical routes. Damn good at covering vertical routes. Cooper, I would rather have on Tampa 2, right? Him covering the seam on Tampa 2, that mid-zone read. But if they're both on the field, I would rather Quay take that responsibility and let Coop roam underneath, me personally. Yes. And again, I've talked about the fifth-year option. I hope they don't pick up the fifth-year option on White or Quay, but I think they're going to pick it up at least temporarily for at least one of those guys, me personally.
Yeah, we want that dozen.
We want those 2 dozen. We double down.
That's right. It's 2 dozen. I can't wait. You're right, because my only rebuttal is, hey, I like when Quay is on the field giving Edgerrin that freedom. If Quay comes off the field and Edgerrin starts to float towards Quay's numbers, that's a negative effect, I feel like. I would, unless someone can, produce better than Quay and still allow Edgerrin to do those things, I'm still okay with keeping Quay there and just kind of shoring that up.
Yeah. For me personally, I don't think Quay is the dude. Now, I'm not saying the Packers don't see him as one of the long-term answers. I would not be surprised at all if they extended him. I really wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them take a couple swings this year, and we're going to talk about why here in a second if we have time. Matter of fact, I won't put it on the screen. Remind me, Amelia, I'm going to go back to an NFL.com article. Remind me that. Let me hit Mike Witt's super chat. Here, thank you so much for the support here, Mike. He says, Bucky Brooks has us drafting cornerback Barron from Texas. Don't know much about him, but I really like the cornerback from East Carolina, talking about Siobhan Reveal, I'm sure. Jahdae Barron is who we're talking about, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, Jahdae Barron on our board is the 22nd best prospect. So he's right there. If they took him, that's right on the money.
Right behind Malachi Starks, who we were just talking about.
Same, pretty much. They're, less than a little more than 1 point difference when it comes to our grading system. So they're in the same. Actually, you would put Malachi Starks in the tier above, but when you're looking at a player in this tier, you look at the grade, you go, 1 point difference, treat it like a cluster buster, right? So, again, the whole purpose of the tiers, and when we do those horizontal lines separating the tiers, is so you can kind of see where the value is at each specific position.
Right. And looking at that, looking at the two, Clay, the difference between DJs and 33rd is literally just flipped. Like Malachi Starks on DJs is 33rd, with the 33rd team having Malachi Starks at 6th. And then Jahdae Barron on DJs is 9th, with the 33rd team having him at 34th.
That's
so it's wild how like they're so similar, but so, different, honestly.
Yeah. They canceled each other out, didn't they?
Right. Exactly.
That's really interesting. And then Dane Brugler, of course, has Jahdae Barron at 40. He has Malachi Starks at 14, so he's significantly higher on him, right? And neither of those guys were at the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine Bowl. So we'll see if they get a combine bonus when they do that, or their pro day, what have you. So, again, Mike, thank you so much for the super chat there, buddy. We appreciate it, man. Greg Rice says, how is Quay's passer rating allowed too good when I don't know if he's saying not good, maybe, when PFF kills him in pass rating? I don't know what's PRA.
How's Quay's passer rating when passer rating allowed not too? I would think not too good when PFF kills him in passer rating allowed.
See, that's the thing. This is where I part ways with PFF. If what you're asking there, Greg, is how is NFL Pro have the passer rating, at some point, and PFF has it somewhere else, they're different in a sense.
Right.
NFL Pro, we've got every single reception that's attached to these players, and we can determine, was that a reception on him? Was that a touchdown on him? Like if you guys listen to Ryan, I'm sure you guys do. Ryan Schlip, Packernet Podcast. We're part of the network. He does a phenomenal job. Guys, just search anywhere you get your podcast, Packernet Podcast. That's where you'll find this in podcast form as well as his show that's way better than this because this show sucks. Scan the QR code in the upper right. That'll send you right to Packernet Podcast on all platforms. He talks about this all the time. Like there was somebody last year that had a touchdown counted to them. Javon Bullard, PFF, had slapped a touchdown on him. And he's like, he's like, there's no way that touchdown should have been on Javon Bullard. But there's no way to combat that. And again, they don't show you the tape. Ryan just happened to know, well, Hart, it had to be that specific play. And he disagreed with the fact that the touchdown should have counted toward him. Exactly. So PFF gets a little murky there. It really does. Now, when you talk about how is Quay's passer rating allowed so good when PFF kills him in passer rating, that passer rating allowed, that 100.9, that's not good being in the hundreds. That's bad. The higher the number, the worse, in case I didn't specify that. He may be misreading that aspect. But, yeah, so I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. I try to look at run defense and passing defense when it comes to backer because it's so important to be a passing league. And notice I didn't mention pressure, quarterback pressure percentage. I don't care about that from a stack backer because when you blitz a stack backer, it's not necessarily about beating your one-on-one matchup, although those opportunities will present themselves. A lot of times you're running a loop, you're running a scrape, right? You're freeing that dude up, or you're having him going first to free up the backside loop off of a defensive line. So I don't put as much concern in that.
Right. I feel like as a stack backer, you're either almost getting the sack or you're sacrificing your body to allow somebody to get the sack. Like you're basically 50-50 on that like every time. But I like how Hafley schemed up Coop so well because he liked that, because there was a little bit of freedom on the backside, because he had maybe trust in Quay, something along those lines. I think that's the option. I'm excited to see what he dials up for him this year.
All right. Yeah. Hit that super chat for me real quick if you can, Emilio. Read it to me.
Mike Witt, appreciate you, man. Thank you. He said, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on a cheap deal with Dre Greenlaw to see what he's got left.
Mm-hmm. So Dre Greenlaw.
Ankle injury, right?
Correct. Well, the Achilles. Right?
Tore his Achilles. Gotcha.
And it sounded like when he tried to come back last year, he wasn't completely right. And they tried to put Dre Campbell back in. Dre Campbell said, "No, you didn't want me before.
I'm taking this off. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm out. See you." So in 2022, Dre Greenlaw was the 9th highest graded linebacker according to PFF. In 2023, on 999 snaps, he dropped to the 23rd best. Now that's a solid starting linebacker. He's 27 years old, right? So he should have a little bit more gas in the tank. So he did tear his ACL. Is that what Holmes is saying? So hold up a minute. Dre Greenlaw tore his ACL after he ruptured the Achilles going back on the field for the Super Bowl. Is that correct? Is that?
Wow.
I think we're talking about the same person.
Yeah, let me double check.
Yeah, Greg Rice says, was Greenlaw the guy that blew his Achilles? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Greenlaw was the dude in the Super Bowl, not this year, but last year, that went to run on the field and popped his Achilles, right? Am I thinking right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so now the question is, as Holmes says, he's coming off an ACL. Are we sure about that? Okay, he said, I may be wrong, but I thought it was an ACL. But it might be Achilles. Yeah, it was his Achilles that he tore in the Super Bowl.
Tore left Achilles. Dre Greenlaw was unable to finish all 4 quarters. That was December 22nd of 24.
Okay.
Right.
So here's what we got. It says Greenlaw worked his way back from an Achilles injury he suffered in the Super Bowl last February, but he was shut down after only 34 snaps in 2024. He will still likely see a lot of interest in free agency. He excels in coverage, having earned PFF coverage grades of 82.6 and 79.5 over the past 2 seasons. So
I got it.
Yeah. So no worries. Holmes, appreciate you. Like I said, trying to.
So what I was reading was that was in December of this past year. He tried to play and was unable to finish all 4 quarters because it didn't feel right or something. I'm not sure, but so when he came back from the injury after the Super Bowl, that's.
And think about Dre Campbell, man. Think about how he handled that. Like in his mind, he had to be thinking, "I'm better than Dre Greenlaw. I deserve to be out there." The hell are you smoking, bro? Like, you own that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To think that you're a better linebacker than Dre Greenlaw. That's just wild to think. The ego, man. Everywhere he's gone, it's someone else's fault, you know? And I was a big, big defender of him, man. Really big defender of him. I got to meet him at a restaurant in Green Bay. I took Mandy to this real nice restaurant downtown Green Bay. He walked in, shook hands with him, just down to earth dude. I'm like, man, I really like this guy. He turned out to be an ass. Like, seriously. And you know, I can't sugarcoat it. I don't know what else to say. But I will say this: the projected contract, according to PFF, and this doesn't mean it's going to be accurate, is 1 year, $6 million for Dre Greenlaw. Who was it in the chat that put that up about Greenlaw?
Mike in his super chat.
Mike. If you can get Dre Greenlaw for 1 year, $10 million, sign me up. They got it listed at 1 year, $6 million. If you throw Dre Greenlaw in there, Emilio, listen, hear me out here. I'm spitting.
Then we don't get to take Jay Higgins though, Clay. Then what are we going to do?
Listen, we need two. We need two, sir. And thank you for reminding me on the article just now. I've seen that. This was the teams that were the best had the best tackling according to NFL.com. The Green Bay Packers were 7th this year. Guys, they were cheeks to your.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Tackling was a major strength for the Packers defense as they finished with the 7th lowest missed tackle rate at 11.9%. And keep that number in mind, guys, 11.9%. That's the team line. So anyone who has a lower missed tackle rate than that, that's good. You know what I mean? Kind of use that as the
get that. Right. Yeah. They're helping the team get to that level. Right.
Yeah. And allowed the 5th fewest yards after missed tackles at 705. They were especially sharp down the stretch, leading the league with a 90.5% efficiency rate after their Week 10 bye to propel their playoff push. No Green Bay Packer defender eclipsed 15 tackles on the season, 15 missed tackles on the season, a testament to the unit's consistency across the board. And the team's leaders in that category, linebackers Isaiah McDuffie and Eric Wilson, who both have 14, are set to hit free agency, presenting a chance to upgrade the position's depth. Kind of addition by subtraction if both of those guys leave. First-year coordinator Jeff Hafley has clearly put together a connected, fundamentally sound unit in Green Bay. I do want to mention this, though. Coach Camp's gone. We're going to find out. Was that Coach Camp effect, Campanelli? Or you see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just saying, like, keep an eye on that as well. But the point there, Emilio, Isaiah McDuffie and Eric Wilson, I don't want McDuffie back. Nothing personal. He could run circles around me in his sleep, right? I'm not trying to say, oh, he's a bad football player. I know it, not saying that. I'm simply saying if you
could get burned on a wheel route just as bad as he did. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. It was against Saquon. It was a nice ball. But, yeah, I know what you're saying.
I love how you clean that up real quick. So Isaiah McDuffie walks. I'm okay with bringing Eric Wilson back on a minimal contract, right? But if you can go get Dre Greenlaw between $6 and $10 million on a 1 year deal, bro, and then you draft Jay Higgins, you understand how you improved your linebacker room again. And here's what the talk becomes now: Camp Battle, Quay Walker, Dre Greenlaw for that other nickel linebacker spot. And when you're in a base 4-3, when you're playing these 21 and 12 personnel teams that are, whatever, anywhere from 25 to 40% of the snaps on a team that runs it heavy like San Fran or maybe Detroit or Kansas City or somebody, you're going to have Quay Walker, Dre Greenlaw, and Adrian Cooper on the field at the same time. Bro, Dre Greenlaw is quickly becoming one of my favorite free agents. But there's also a chance that he goes out there and he can't do it anymore because of that Achilles. That's always a shot. There's always a chance there. So
Dre Greenlaw is your Bobby Wagner of this year, or is Bobby Wagner your Bobby Wagner of this year?
Bobby Wagner is the lady that's not interested in us. I think he's going back to Washington. Somebody's going to tag him in a tweet and go, Clayton called you a lady. No, don't get my ass kicked here. All right, that wasn't what I was saying. I'm simply saying I don't see any scenario where he plays for anyone other than Washington. He loves Washington. He loves
it just worked. It worked. Yeah, it worked. I mean,
now, if you're making me choose, if you put me on the spot, do you want Bobby Wagner for a year or Dre Greenlaw for a year? I want Bobby Wagner. But I feel like it's going to be more realistic to get a Dre Greenlaw. But, man, if you get that, man, look, here it is. I love it. I was waiting on it, Greg. Is Wagner older than dirt? Who is the old linebacker? He's older than dirt, and he keeps playing better than the kids. That's what keeps happening every year.
Remember Ray Lewis?
People said that to us last year, remember?
Yeah.
Emilio? Oh, he's too old. He went out there and damn dominated all year long, bro. All year long.
Dude,
So,
he's not afraid to hit either. It's not like he's going out there and just doing the motions.
Holmes says he's my age, Greg. So, come on. He's not 70, Holmes. We're being like that. That's a joke, by the way. So, yeah, man, I'm glad he brung up Dre Greenlaw. When you look at it from that perspective, go draft a Jay Higgins or a Stutzman, somebody like that, and then have Dre Greenlaw added too. Boy, that'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you rather add like a Dre Greenlaw versus like a Khalil Mack? Like, would you rather add a stack backer, or are we add an edge talent?
If you're saying I would have to choose between Dre Greenlaw and Khalil Mack, I'm taking.
Right. Let's say they're both going to get paid the same. We can get them both in here the same, the same amount or whatever time frame. I know Khalil's got a little bit more age to him, but whatever works out to make it even for both of them. Which would you choose? I
pick Khalil Mack.
I love that.
It's a more important position.
I love that, and
it might be able to free up LV in a little bit to kick inside a little bit more and see if you can bleed into that a little bit. It's a more important position.
That was going to be my choice. I really thought you were going Greenlaw there after you had me on the sales pitch there, bringing in the young talent. He was all ready to go. He's, if I can get him for a steal, but no, I felt the same way. Let's bring in a veteran talent that has been performing, knock on wood, been nice and solid, showing up, is on the field a lot. I think that would be key. Like you said.
Let me show you this though. 7 million, 8 million, 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, 3 million, 2 million, to a total of 32 million plus 29 million in cap space. You're looking at potentially over $50 million in cap space. Why not have both? Why not go get Khalil Mack and Dre Greenlaw to the tune of, I don't know, $26 to $30 million in cap this year, right? And then you look up and you got another $20 million in cap. And okay, if you want to go get a player here, a player there, you can piece it together. Goody's talking about being aggressive. I think he's BSing us, but I hope he's being honest. What if you went that route and you got Khalil Mack and you got Dre Greenlaw, right? Shoo-wee, man. And then you turn around and you draft a Kenneth Grant, a Walter Nolan, one of these top defensive tackles, right? Tyleek Williams, TJ Sanders, Omar Norman Lott a little later, man. I don't know if you heard of the morning show, but Omar Norman Lott in that upper quadrant of that graphic we showed earlier today.
Dog, I'm telling you, he's been tearing it up down here. Been tearing it up down here, Clay.
And bro, he is so low on our board. So low. Why is he so low, Emilio? I explained it this morning. Let's just recap it real quick. Why is Omar Norman Lott so dang low?
We have him at 121. His PFF 23 grade was 227th. His 24 grade was 327th. But Big Board had him at 50th. Consensus had him at 63, 33rd team 58th, and Dane at 78th. So he has struggled because of that PFF grade previously.
So this is what we're talking about. PFF gave him a low grade, and that's why he's low on our board, right? But PFF, pass rush win rate here, I'm pretty sure this is a PFF, per PFF. The data came from PFF up here. Omar Norman Lott is the third best according to pass rush win rate to run stop rate. Why the hell is his grade so low? You said 24, right?
Correct.
If those numbers are through the roof. Was it penalty?
He was 327th and 24.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. And that's why, again, PFF isn't everything. But what if you get that dude a little later too? And I think somebody in here asked, where's Gary going to play? Gary's going to play where he always plays, Chuck. He's going to play edge too. Gary's playing 50-something% of the snaps. Was it 58% of the snaps, if I remember correctly? Let me just double check here real quick. Play time. Ray Sean Gary, 58.4% of the snaps. When you go to play time, I don't know why it always does that. It drives me insane. It always resets on me. If you go to play time for our boy or the entire defense, Xavier McKinney played 98% of the snaps. Keyshawn played 93% of the snaps. There's value there. Quay played 88%. Ja played 83%. Javon Bullard, 81%. And I believe that's playtime percentage if they're healthy, if they're available, okay? Carrington Valentine, 64%. Isaiah McDuffie, 64%. Kenny Clark. The fact that Isaiah McDuffie is so much higher than Edgerrin Cooper just pisses me off.
Right.
But, yeah, to get down here, when it comes to edge defenders, Rashawn Gary had the most snaps amongst all edge defenders on the team at 58.4%. Then it was Preston Smith at 53.7. Then it was Kingsley Nabari at 46.8. Then it was Lucas Van Ness at 39.3. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to replace Preston Smith's 53.7% with Khalil Mack. So Khalil Mack will be in Preston Smith's place there, okay? And LVN will probably hover around 40% there is how you would approach that. And maybe even kick inside if you want to create a NASCAR package on those heavy passing now, And Chris in here, Matt LaFleur loves the hockey line rotation with the edge / defensive ends. It's true. Emilio, I like it to a certain extent, but also I understand the frustration there because if Gary had played the same percentage of snaps that Max Crosby had played, he would have finished with over 10 sacks, and we'd be talking a lot different about Rashawn Gary this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was the sack rate that he was on pace for. I mean, Max Crosby played like 98% of the snaps in 12 games for them. And he ended up out-snapping Rashawn Gary, who played 17 games. So,
key word, 12 games. I mean, that's would you rather have Rashawn for every game, or would you rather have him for 2/3 of the game?
So you're saying that heavy snap percentage led to injury, right?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying a possibility, right? I mean, wear and tear, and that's where you're thinking it's a long season. Why do I want to burn him up? If we needed Rashawn on the field. And we weren't an 11-win team, third place of the division. I mean, we already are in the play. Like, if that was the case, I think they would run him a little longer. I think we would get him 60-40, 30, 70-30, something like that. But I'm all about that rotation. I'd rather than be at 100% or 95%, stamina at that point versus 60 and giving me, on-off plays.
Right. And that's the whole reason I brung up this conversation here was Chuck asking, where's Gary going to play?
Right.
All you're going to do is throw Khalil Mack into that hockey line.
Yeah, that's it.
And I know people, Khalil Mack's
another forward.
Khalil Mack is still grading out elite too. Like, if he drops into the 70s, guess what? That's an improvement over what we got of edge defenders that's not named Rashawn Gary. And, oh, by the way, LVN may take that next step this year. Right. Mm-hmm. He finished at damn near 12%. Most of the season, I think he cracked 12 and he was hovering around 12. He finished at like 11.3% pressure or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what we could do.
And I think that's I think that's a great point. Couple more points from the chat here. Tool for this. I think good point. I'm curious if Gary's rotation was to conserve his knee after the ACL. That's fair. It feels awkward running on that thing, but watching some of those explosive videos he had in the offseason and stuff, he still had that explosion, but it's just getting past that mindset. And then Prince here said entire D-line were holdovers from the previous system. Now they get a good look at how they fit Hef's defense by rotating. It's another great point. You can't know what you have unless you see them on the field. And, Hef can only watch so much tape of how they played in the 3-4 and wanted to see how they do in his system.
Yeah, definitely. Professor Case got a question. We're going to move on to Patreon real quick. I was going to pull up Khalil Mack tape. We'll do that another time. I want to see just how he dominated.
I like it.
Professor Cake says, PTA and chat, I have a question. Would you guys want Deebo Samuel? Me personally, no. I soured on Deebo real quick this year when he attacked his kicker and holder on the sidelines after a missed kick. Yeah, it's a no for me on Deebo. Yep. There's just been too much there. His mom, the agent, and you guys remember that whole fiasco? He gets the bag. All of a sudden, he's not the same player. How do you feel about it, Emilio?
I will pass.
All right.
Please and thank you.
Simple enough. Let's move on to the Patreon group. Josh Martin, appreciate you, buddy. He said, if you could trade up to the 4th spot somehow, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter are all on the board. Who are you taking and why? For me, it's Graham. Getting that Elite 3 tech is Super Bowl contender type of change this team needs. I would be okay with Abdul Carter or Graham. If you make me choose between those two guys, I'm going Graham. According to our board, Abdul Carter is better than Graham. He's got a 2.7 score, low number of wins, and Mason Graham's got a 4.1. but I feel like 3 tech is more important. They're in that same tier. I would probably go 3 tech there, Emilio. And again, that's with my mindset being go get Khalil Mack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What would your answer to that
I
question?
love that. And I do support what you say, and I think I would back that. But I'm gonna go Travis Hunter here.
Really?
I would take Travis Hunter because I have faith in how deep this draft is. If I'm at the 4th spot and I'm able to pick up a lockdown corner for the next 5 years plus, strap him, whoever is on the other side, we can shore up that bet. 100% our secondary would be absolutely elite. And then I would just go grab, I don't know, Harmon because again, we just got done talking about a hockey line. It's not like they just do it with the edge. They're rotating those tackles in as well. You're not going to see Mason Graham out there hundreds, for every 65. I mean, the guy's going to get probably 20, 25 snaps a game. So I think I would go Travis Hunter, lock down the secondary, and keep everything in front of us.
Got it. We got one more question here, but I just pulled up Khalil Mack's tape in case we got time to just look at his sacks real quick. Rashawn Gary had more sacks than Khalil Mack. Rashawn Gary had 7.5. Khalil only had 6. Now his quarterback pressure percentage is 15%. Rashawn's was 13 and some change. So he applied more pressure more often than Gary. But I think people don't realize how well Gary played last year compared to other edges across.
Coming off his injury, playing off of an injured ACL. Thank you. Yeah.
Jake Shavink said Hunter and we're playing them both ways. I'm gonna tell you something, boys.
What if we had Hunter though playing corner lockdown and he had 20 snaps on offense, Clayton?
Listen to me, Emilio. If I was the coach, I would not do it. Okay, but if they did that, you talking about buying a jersey and being so damn excited. You're going to go back to, I'm trying to think of what year Charles Woodson was at Michigan. I want to say it was around 99, I believe, something like that, 99, 2000. I was in high school, and I'm telling you, it was all the rage. That interception going up. Have you ever seen that interception, Emilio?
Probably. I just don't.
You would know if you did.
Yeah.
I can't play it on here. When we get done,
yeah, we'll watch it.
You're going to go, holy cow. Like that dude was unbelievable. Bates said 95 to 97, man. Oh
I said 97. See, I'm on it, Bates. I got you.
Get ready to go.
Jake Shavink, man. Bro, there's nobody would be more excited than to see Travis Hunter playing both ways.
Could you imagine Jordan Love just dropping a dime?
Yeah. And then him going out there and getting an interception, taking it to the house. And you know he's going to high step like Dion when he does. It's just coming. Oh, that'd be awesome. All right, anyway. With that being said, I wouldn't want that. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby, as a wise man once said. I wouldn't want to be the coach making that decision and him getting hurt and you wasted your number 1 pick, right? Mountain Man Pack says, I really like the film I see on Benjamin Morrison. Why wouldn't we draft him? Great question. Benjamin Morrison's one of those prospects that's all over the place, Emilio. If you'll look at our board and tell me where we got him and why we do, I'm going to pull him up on Dane Brugler's big board. He has him in the 55 spot. Okay, he's 6 foot 190. You guys know I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm not as high on Benjamin Morrison as most people are. Hip injury. Let's assume he's healthy from the hip injury. Okay, what brings him down on our board? Where does he rank, and why does he get pulled down on our board, man?
Right. We have him in the 70th spot. Benjamin Morrison, he's an outside corner. 23, his PFF grade was 103. 24 had the hip injury, ranked out at 330. PFF Big Board had him 15th. Consensus had him 22nd. Daniel Jeremiah had him 45th. 33rd team had him 38th. And then, like you said, Dane had him 55th. That PFF last year is really what is hurting him. That injury, that's going to hurt. That's something that we need to pay attention to. If he can come back from the injury, great. But you're going to see maybe if he doesn't go to the scouting combine, maybe that's a sign. If he doesn't, like, those are kind of things that they probably take a little notice of. But what we did was we did include. Let me see if I can pull up the. Hold on.
As you're doing that, if he fell to the second round, I'd be all about it.
Yes.
That 23rd pick, that's a no-go for me.
But so pulling up the PFF 22, he was 118 in 22. So 103 in 23. If he didn't get hurt, he probably was on track to close in maybe, top 100 corner. Mm-hmm. But the injury, man, it's something you got to keep in mind.
Yeah. And
he's strictly outside, right? We have him at cornerback. So.
Yeah, and Jake says Morrison with a down/injured 24 after a very good 23, you say. Me personally, yeah, it kind of fits Jaden Reed mold, right? But at the same time, here's the problem I got with it. With the 23rd pick, you're going to take a player, right, who there were 102 other cornerbacks that were better than him his best year in college. That's just hard. Now, again, it's PFF grade, and we just got through bashing PFF too, so – right? You got to take that into consideration. We could dig into the passer rating when targeted and other metrics and see if there's something we're missing. But the other thing is, who's right there with him, Emilio? If I remember correctly, there's somebody on our board who's graded right there, maybe slightly ahead of him or slightly behind.
Ezra Thomas, cornerback outside Florida State, was at the Senior Bowl. His PFF 22, 568, 23, 217, 24, 151. PFF Big Board had him 95th. Consensus had him 61. DJ 43, 33rd, 73, and Dane 42.
Got it. Now, here's the thing about Azure. 6'2". Right? As opposed to Morrison 6 foot. That's another thing. But if I'm understanding you correctly, the PFF, well, I got it right here. Yeah, PFF grade, Benjamin Morrison in 2023 was better that year than Azure Thomas's best year in college. So PFF likes Azure a little bit better. It's funny we say that, but I hope we're saying that name right, Azure or Azare or whatever. 84th is where they got him on the big board, right? And they've got Benjamin Morrison 16th right now. And again, our board won't reflect that because we put the information in early, and we do that for a reason. So Jake says, I think he'll be available at 55. Totally good with it, Mountain Man Pack. If he's there at 55, we want to take him. What have we been talking about with our mocks, Emilio? If you don't get that corner in the second round, you find yourself kind of in no man's land, right?
So, but I don't have to worry about it because I already took Travis Hunter. So we're cooking.
Cooking with Crisco. All right, cool. Thanks to everybody in the Patreon group. Appreciate you guys and gals over there supporting. If you guys want to join, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or you can scan the QR code that I'm going to throw up here in the upper right for the remainder. Actually, not for the remainder, just for a second. I want to keep it
or
up.
Down here in the comment section. We can go down there and
absolutely just click more on the YouTube video. You'll see the Patreon group there as well. We're going to be doing another giveaway here soon. Go ahead, Emilio.
I said hit sub because
the best guy around.
Yeah. So, we're going to be doing a giveaway for our Patreon group here real soon as well. I got to figure out what piece of memorabilia we're going to give away next. So.
Nice. I'm hoping I win one of these. I've been spinning on that wheel, man. I know Eric's got the thing rigged and everything, but
you're such a scumbag. You're not winning. If you win, the only thing we're going to allow you to do is pick the winner. We're going to force you to give it away.
On the spot? No way, dude. That mark, dude. If I had that 65% one, it would have been over. That thing wouldn't have left the house.
All right, I'm going to try to do this in a way that we don't get in trouble. All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close everything else out. We're just going to end the show here real quick looking at Khalil Mack's sacks. All right.
Nice. Somebody else tried to do something without getting in trouble.
Duval.
Didn't work out too hot for him, right?
All right. So it won't be completely full screen, but here we go. We're going to watch Khalil Mack's 6 sacks from last year. Okay. Can you see that okay, Emilio? Is that all right?
Beautiful.
All right, here we go, guys. Let's watch it. He is over here playing a wide 9. I'm pretty sure you can't see my cursor. Right here. Yeah. So that's him right there, number 52, wide 9. Let's watch this sack. It's against the Raiders, obviously. Just straight power. Let's go. Bang. And listen, the quarterback did kind of step up into it, right?
Right.
Ball comes out different, and 93 really helped there right there as well.
We'd have to look at Rodgers behind that offensive line.
Yeah, good luck with that. He's going to be cussing everybody. He's going to be telling everybody to snap the ball. All right, next sack. This is, again, who's this one against? This is against Justin Fields, our old foe. Looks like Khalil Mack again, wide 9, playing right in from the defense's perspective. And they're in what looks like an under front. Notice the 1 tech opposite the strong side. So we're going to go 1 tech, 3 tech. When we talk 3 tech, guys, that's what we're talking about. That's your 3 tech right there, okay?
And you look at how important that is, though, Clay, right? He's overhead the guard, right? But he's got a tackle and a tight end on his outside and the center right next to him. I mean, that's why we're expecting so much out of that 3 tech. He's got a lot of ground and a lot of space to cover.
And if you're going to try to slide to protection and double team someone like Khalil Mack, then you're going to have to give this guy, you're going to have to give him up, right? Let's watch Khalil Mack over here. This against the Steelers. 1 back set, out of the gun.
Yeah.
Good burst. Good.
And roll it back because they sent the back to help the tackle. They sent the back to help that man, and he said, he got inside my boy. No.
And that's not as much about athletic ability as his awareness, right?
That's 10 years pro or however long he's been in the league. That's how he got that sack.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another good rep there. So there's sack number 2. All right. Let's move it along here to the 3rd sack, and this is going to be against Spencer Rattler. I will say this, if I'm playing kind of the skeptic here, these have been some bad quarterbacks he's sacking, right? Justin Fields, who is it, Gardner Minshew, I believe, right? And now you've got Spencer Rattler. But here he is now sliding over to the left, all right? Sliding over to the left, and he's playing wide 9 on the left. Now, keep in mind here.
And stand up, which he was just hand in the dirt 2 seconds ago.
Yep, so now you're showing a little hybrid approach, standing up. So this would be considered your 1 tech here, okay? Your 1 tech. Some would call that a 2-eye, but that's closer to a 1 tech than this 3 who's playing the outside shoulder of the guard on the opposite side. So in this case, Kenny Clark, Devontae White, you would have Rashawn Gary, and then, of course, Khalil Mack if you added him.
And this is a 2 tight end set with a, halfback right. So you got to it go either way.
Hey, he showed some speed there, bro. Look at that burst.
So get by that, man. Tackle didn't expect it. I mean, his feet were like in quicksand. And
you could tell he wasn't expecting the help on the outside. He was expecting the running back to help on the inside.
Right.
He just got beat like a damn drum, man. Spencer Rattler's like, I'm just going to lay down here. I ain't losing my life.
That's crazy.
He tried to get back up.
He just ran the wheel, right?
Yeah. Look, still, yeah. So they blew him dead. All right. So there you go. Let's see if this is a decent quarterback. Jameis Winston. We're seeing a theme here. I've got to point it out. All right. Wide 9 left, hand in the dirt. All right. They're going to do a little shift here. This is kind of a little more of a balanced approach, albeit 2-eye. And then, of course, you got your 3 tech right here, right? So, again, think Kenny Clark, think Devontae White, think Rashawn Gary, think Khalil Mack. Here's Khalil Mack on the left.
Oh man.
Oh, that was a nice little fake.
He's still got an explosion, let me tell you. The dude doesn't even know what happened. He doesn't even know.
Look at the tackle, bro. He is lost.
He's like, dude, can I block your man for a second? Like, I don't want to get in trouble, like not blocking anybody on this one.
His 77 witnessed the crime. Watch him. He's like, oh crap.
No.
Poor Jameis. Which, by the way, did anybody else see Jameis Winston down at the Super Bowl providing that entertainment? If you haven't seen it, just search Jameis Winston. It'll be all over Twitter. That dude needs to be an announcer or something when he's done. He is unbelievable. All right, here we go against the Patriots. This time, they're showing a little jam front. Look at this, Emilio. Kind of a little jam. What we mean by jam here, it's not quite a jam because this is a stacked backer covering up the tackle. But right here, think Rashawn Gary wide 9, Khalil Mack wide 9. You got a guy kind of playing nose or shade on the right shoulder of the center. And then, of course, you got another, it looks like a linebacker mugging right there if that ain't a pass rusher. But, again, watch Khalil Mack. Look at the burst. Oh, look at the jump. No one else has moved on the offensive line. Look at Khalil. The ball's in the quarterback's hand. But look at that jump from Khalil. Oh.
Dude, he got there before Bosa.
Look at the running back. He's like, oh, crap.
The tackles didn't even move. They just gave up.
Yeah. So that, you could say, man, he's quick off the line, but also that you got to kind of throw it on the offensive line too, right?
Yes. I will say, though, he did beat Bosa around a tackle and threw a running back before Bosa got to the quarterback. So I'm not saying he's not slow.
Right. There you go. There's another one. Save Drake May. Look at the hashtag from Jake. Save Drake May. So that was your final one. So out of all the quarterbacks he sacked there, who was the best quarterback he sacked?
You're looking at him.
Drake May, rookie. It's worth mentioning, right? But again, when you looked at his numbers, Gary had 1.5 sacks more than Khalil Mack, but Mack hit the 15% pressure rate, and Gary was in the 13%. So I've always been told if they crack 10%, pretty damn good pass rusher. And that's what gives me hope about our boy LVN, who finished over 11%. So it's like, okay, maybe he's cutting the corner, I don't even know what to put in hour 2 here for the notes. We covered a lot of stuff there, didn't we? It was mostly defense, though, right? All defense talk.
Yeah.
Let's go defense talk and Khalil Mack. So after we watch that, how do you feel about Khalil Mack? Are you still on board with signing him? Because it's probably going to take a $15 to $22 million for 1 year,
Bring him in.
Bring him in.
I like the technique. I like the explosion. I like I like everything he still has in the tank. How he plays, his experience. I think that he can even help Rashawn. It's not like you're bringing in. That's somebody that can give years of experience and knowledge that he's learned from previous generations. I think that it would be more than beneficial.
2-0 for this says he keeps making the running backs look like mannequins. He really does. And I think part of that is intimidation too, Emilio. I think those running backs are going, that's damn Khalil Mack right there. This is going to suck.
And then if you're looking at it like, dude, all right, I don't want to, I'm coach, put me on the other side. I don't want to block Khalil Mack. And then it's like, dude, you got to block Rashawn Gary on that side. And then they're subbing in LVN. It's a long day at the office.
It really is. J. Cole says, Jameis Winston is hilarious, especially the interview he did after Watson tore his Achilles. The other thing too, man, he's just like, I don't know if you guys seen him on the Pat McAfee show, but Pat McAfee and the boys, they like to make jokes about, religion. They crack their little jokes like some people do, and it's okay. I don't hold it against them. It is what it is. But I don't take offense to that stuff. I just think what I need to be a better person so they understand the truth. That's just me personally. But they were, they always do this, say a little prayer. They'll do that sometimes, and they'll kind of mock pray, They had Jameis do it. He killed it. And it literally after everybody's like, amen, 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 amen. Like it was just so from the heart. Hey, look out for Pat and the boys. It was just awesome. Jameis Winston's a real deal. I hope he ends up being an announcer. 2-0 for this says Jameis Winston's like a puppy seeing snow for the first time. It's so true. So true. So there you go. 2-0 for this. Jameis Winston and Jamal Williams should be on the same team at some point. Wasn't they I think they were in New Orleans, maybe briefly.
They could have been. That's a crew right there. That's
Give me Joe Boogie and Jameis Winston on the call. I could care less about the professionalism. Let me watch a ball game, listen to them cut up. I'll crack open a daddy soda.
Jamal just wants to get home. He just wants to get home, eat a PB&J, and be with his cat, right? And that's like it. Anime, I think. That's simple.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's it. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This is a lot of fun. Emilio, thank you for your time, dude. Appreciate you jumping on here. As the guys they're being way better, significant others than us, trying to get everything prepped. Like I said, I think Jacob probably loaded up our Larry McCarron pinky wheel and put all the ladies on it, and he's going to decide which one he's going to buy Valentine.
Spin it 3 times, pick the winner, right?
Exactly. And if you don't like the winner, you can always spin on the floor. It's probably
because it's rigged, right? I get it.
Always rigged. Special shout out to Mike Witt. Thank you so much for the super chats tonight, buddy. You're always too kind. Everybody in the Patreon group, thank you. Everybody in the chat, you guys make this show what it is. Not the sucky part, the good part, and we really appreciate it. Hit sub, hit like, tell all your friends. If you don't have any friends, tell a stranger. Y'all have a good night.
Then we go.
Bye, guys.